'cause we understood this one perfect fit. Sugar, this one is it. We all are so excited 'cause we're reunited, yeah.
Hello, welcome to Stars Reunited. Now, to describe today's show, the word that springs to mind is fantabulous. Yes, today's big reunion is a national treasure of a program that's been on the air for nearly 40 years, and that should give you a bit of a clue. And when I tell you that we all still watch it today, well, that's another clue. Okay, one more clue. Do you know, I'm too good to you. Let's have a look at what was happening around the world when this show was first on our tellies.
Girl, you really got me going. You got me so I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, you really got me now. You got me so I can't sleep at night. Yeah, you really got me now. You got me so I don't know what I'm doing. Oh yeah, you really got me now. You got me so I can't sleep at night. You really got me. You really got me. You really got me.
Oh yes, it was a very groovy year. The Beatles made A Hard Day's Night, the miniskirt hit Carnaby Street, and you couldn't move for mods and rockers. So we're thinking way back when this show first started, and here's how a few of you remember it back in the good old days.
Throughout the 70s and 80s, coming in at 7:30 on the Thursday and just sitting down and watching it.
Used to watch it in friends' flats, and everybody used to get together to see what was on and what was happening and who were the acts of the time.
And the music, obviously, of the time.
Really the only pop show that was on at the time of any sort of worth. People trying to dance and not being able to dance.
I think there was like little robots. They used to clap and go on. When there's a clapper, they used to clap, and if someone's dancing in middle, they used to dance around them.
Fans people, I think, was one of the things that stood out.
And we always watched it because we wanted to see what the latest moves were. Not that you actually ever attempted to replicate them, but they were always quite amusing.
These outrageous shell suits. Jimmy Savile.
Now then, that rap with jewelry.
Fluff Freeman.
Tony Blackburn.
Really bad hair, you know, lots of beards.
Daily Travers.
The hairy monster.
There was just this is live. It clearly wasn't live. You know, maybe there was one note in the piano which was live, but the rest really wasn't live at all, was it?
Waiting to see who's number one.
Something like that.
Well, it was shell suits, beards and bad dancing. And if you haven't got it by now, quite frankly, I despair. So let's have a look at how this groundbreaking show looked all those years ago.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Top of the Pops.
We have a surprise guest for you.
We got two very funky and very good-looking gibbons all the way from the Royal Safari Park. Can I have a little bite of your banana here?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's getting unbelievably hot. I'm going to take my jacket off, but you can't look at me.
The Romans, when feasting, used to adopt this sideways position.
I got the blues in the morning. I got the greens at night.
Just branching out. That was a good one, wasn't it? Branching out. You've gone mad, haven't you?
You know, looking at that, I'm still amazed that it all started in 1964. Of course, I'm talking about Top of the Pops. And we've got some of those 60s movers and groovers here with us today, waiting in the wings. Oh yes, Smashy and Nicey, move over. We're talking originals here. And we've got a hand-picked audience who cannot wait to see our guests. But before we all get together, I need to catch up with each of them one by one. Have a quick chat. So first is a man whose career has been truly sensational. He found a whole new audience last year when he was voted King of the Jungle on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Who else? It's Tony Blackburn. Tony, it's so good to see you.
Lovely seeing you again, Ben.
I've been watching a lot of these early clips of Top of the Pops, loving them, every minute of them. And it occurs to me, looking at them, it looked like you made it up as you went along in many ways. And I'm wondering, was it scripted? Because it looked like you were just having a ball.
Well, no, there was no script at all. You just ad-libbing. It's rather, actually, to be honest with you, on Top of the Pops at that time, rather like being a bingo caller. You know, this is 17. It was up 6 places from last week. And then you had to, of course, all the kids were all around you. They were always shuffling, trying to wave to mum and dad at home. I mean, there were some times when it was a nightmare because you were trying to deliver the line and you were being forced out of the way by people barging you from the back and the front and everything. But it was great fun. I mean, I think it was more gentle in those days, and it was a lot slower, the presentation, I think.
Now, I know that halfway through your career on Top of the Pops, it was a case of gamekeeper turned poacher, because there you were introducing all those pop stars.
Yes.
And you were one yourself.
Well...
Look, I've got a whole selection of Tony Blackburn albums, and they are... This is... The cover of this is unbelievable. In fact, they've all got pretty unbelievable...
I was 24 years old there.
Do you remember it?
Yes, I do. I certainly do remember it. This is a strange one because...
You and Matt Monro?
Yeah, he was on one side of the album, and I was on the other side. They got all our old tracks together and put them on. And this is the one that sold the best of the lot. I tend to think probably for Matt Monro, if I'm absolutely honest about it. He was a wonderful singer.
Well, I'm not sure I would agree with you on that, because I happen to know that huge radio star, huge television star on Top of the Pops, women were fainting at you when you were opening supermarkets. Now, you were the king of the PA, weren't you?
Yeah, so I did do a lot of those, yeah.
And I remember reading at the time, I think I was reading Rave magazine or the NME, and there was a photograph of all these girls going, screaming at you, and they were fainting.
Well, there was one incident that happened, I'll never forget it, in Scotland, where I was opening up a menswear shop, and they dropped me at the wrong side of the street, and as I went in, my jacket was ripped absolutely off my back, and I came out in a much better jacket than I went in. But those were amazing days. I mean, in the 60s, it was Radio 1 at its height. There was no other radio station to listen to, and we were actually sort of bigger probably than some of the pop stars we were introducing. To be on Top of the Pops as a DJ then was fantastic.
I guess you'd liken it today to being a footballer for Manchester United.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
You know, or Arsenal.
You'd be like Beckham sort of thing, really.
Because you had the E-Type Jag, and you had the Babes. Were you aware, seriously, at the time, that you were such a babe magnet? Did you know?
No, I didn't. I wish I had. I wish I'd known. No, I didn't. I was so busy, really, and I was so into the music and so into what I was doing. But I wasn't aware of quite what was going on. I didn't have the confidence either. You know, I was only 24.
A babe?
Yeah, I didn't really have the confidence then. You know, I wasn't sure about it.
To be fair, you've had your ups and downs.
Oh, absolutely.
But you've never stopped working.
No.
You've always been doing radio or telly. You've always been doing something. It's just the station's changed.
Yeah.
And then I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of It comes back, and suddenly, whoosh, primetime television. Again, it's unbelievable, because when that sort of thing happens, it's so rare.
It is amazing, yeah. I mean, next year I'll be going 40 years, so obviously a career does have its ups and downs. But luckily, even when I've been very, very down, I haven't been aware of it, because I, as you know, live in a slight Disney world, and so I just enjoy what I'm doing. So even if I'm not working on the biggest station in the world, biggest radio station, I'm still enjoying what I'm doing.
But you're bigger now than you've ever been.
Well, yes, what it's done, it's raised the profile, and little children, like my daughter, who's 6 years old, I think she always used to wonder what I used to do. But now she's, and all her friends, when I pick her up from school, they all say, you know, they know who I am now, so that's lovely.
Fantastic.
It's really lovely, that.
One quick question.
Yes?
How are you feeling about being reunited with all your old stars?
I'm looking forward to it very much, because we all got on very well together when we did Top of the Pops, and I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about and bore one another stupid with, I'm sure.
Well,
all those stories.
It won't be boring, but you know what? You haven't got long to wait.
Lovely, I'm looking forward to it.
Next, I'm off to meet a man who's been as outrageous as he is youthful, and we all love him for it. Do you know, he's been around since the dawn of time, but he never looks any different. How does he do it? Yes, I'm going to meet the one and only Sir Jimmy Savile O.B.E. Jimmy.
He's not here today.
Looking at you, you don't look a day over 25.
I was born in 1742 and proud of the fact.
Well, then what's your secret? What is your secret?
Ladies.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
I must try that.
No, don't do it. Why change the habit of a lifetime?
Absolutely. Other DJs that you're going to be meeting today.
Yes, yes.
Now, do you think they'll have aged as well as you?
I think that they'll all look teenagers. I can't wait to see them. Because, you see, disc jockeys, one of our features is we were all born a bit thick. And when you're born thick, nothing wrong ever happens to you. Only intelligent people suffer. A disc jockey has never been known to suffer in his entire life.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Looking at the suit, Jimmy,
Yeah?
I don't know whether to look at the glasses, which are outrageous, or the suit, which is outrageous. Great outfit, Jimmy.
No man need be ashamed of his working clothes. And I looked a lot funnier when I come out the pit, when I used to work down the pit. I was all black and white then.
Being such a sterling dresser, do you think that the other DJs were ever jealous of your look?
No.
I mean, you got all the attention.
No, I got enormous sympathy from them because they knew that I was more thick than they were. So therefore, they were very kind to me, very loving, and we all got on tremendously well.
See, I've been looking at some of the clips of Top of the Pops.
Yes.
And I'm agog, because
Yes.
every time I see a clip of you, it's something different, something
Yes.
outrageous.
Yes.
It strikes me that you didn't care. I'm just going to wear what I want to wear.
Yes, it was. You must never forget what business you're in. The pop business is a fun business. Particularly the 60s and 70s, a piece of fun lasted 2.5 minutes, which was the length of a record.
Yeah.
It wasn't serious, there was no psychologies about it, or deep, hidden agendas or anything like that. It was a piece of fun. I thought, and still do, think it's enormous fun. And I never dress to offend, I never say anything to offend, but a bit of fun, certainly.
You see, looking at you now, it brings me to another question. The clothes, the jewellery, the cigar, the whole visage I'm looking at works at another level. I'm talking about the girls,
Yes,
the
yes,
ladies.
yes.
They were throwing themselves at you. Did you ever take advantage?
No, they weren't throwing themselves at me. I had to chase every single one, and that's why I turned into such a good marathon runner.
OK, fair enough, Jimmy. You're about to be reunited with all your mates on Top of the Pops. Yeah? OK, shall we do it?
Yes.
Be patient, it's not far away.
Good, good.
Next up, I'm off to meet the man who was a role model for medallion men during the 70s. He's the hairy monster himself, and I love him. It's Dave Lee Travis. Dave, you look fantastic, and here we are doing a television show.
You're just saying that.
No, you
are.
know I mean
You are.
it.
All
you
right,
know
okay,
I
I'll
mean
accept it.
Every good as the picture you used to have of yourself on the side of your car. I remember seeing you drive down the road one day with your own picture on the side. I thought, I want one of those.
Oh, that was a long, long time ago, Dale, for goodness sake.
And it was an American car, and I wanted one of them as well.
But now you can afford these things. Go out and buy one. And put a picture of yourself or me on the side, whatever.
I'll put your picture on the side.
Oh, that's fine, that's good.
We're here doing television, and television has changed in a funny sort of way, because live television is now very, very regulated. That wasn't. That was it. You watched it as if to think, great, what's going to happen next? What was it like doing live then?
I think live television is probably, by definition, the most exciting kind of TV you can do, Dale. I mean, there's no question about it, because you can work. I mean, this show, as you know, is recorded. This show, as you know, is recorded. So, basically, you can do what you want on a live show, but you know that you've got to get it right first time. And if you don't get it right first time, that's what makes good television. I love nothing more than tripping over a cable and disappearing out of camera shots.
Absolutely.
It's great fun.
Now, I've seen you not only on Top of the Pops, but I've also been to a couple of your live gigs. I remember seeing you once in Derby. You were a babe magnet. I mean, there's no question. You attracted the birds like no other. Do you find that women still throw themselves at you and still smile at you?
They do throw themselves at me, but fortunately for me, they miss. Otherwise, it would be hell for me with my back, but there you go.
Now, I know you do lots of radio, you're constantly working. Do you think that your fan base, which is always so solid, has grown up with you, or are you getting the young ones now as well?
I think in the early days of Radio 1, it was fun because we attracted too much of an audience. We had 11-year-olds to 65-year-olds, which was a problem for the BBC, which is why eventually it went. But yes, I'm happy to say there are people still listening to me that used to listen to me in the old days. But now I'm back at the BBC at Three Counties Radio after 10 years away from the Beeb, so, you know, it's great fun.
It's fantastic. Which what I was going to ask you, the funny thing about being a radio DJ and a telly DJ in terms of like Top of the Pops is that none of you say, right, that's it, I'm going to go off and do something else. You're all, you included, still saying, I'm still going to do it. Do you ever get up in the morning and think, you know, I can't play the records of today. I've just got to get rid of, I've got to settle down, I've got to do something different. But no.
No, the reason that I don't wake up and say that in the morning is because, first of all, our business is fun. It ain't brain surgery. That's the first thing. You have to enjoy it. You have to love seeing the new talent coming through. I'm fortunate because on my shows I can play the best of the old stuff, and Lord knows I've got 60 years to pick from, and some of the cream of today's music. There's rubbish today like there was in the 60s. Nobody can tell you otherwise. But when you've got the freedom to sort of use the best bits of all those eras, it goes on, and I just love music. People may remember me getting on stage and playing violin with Mud on Tiger Feet, you know, which is one of the great, all-time great sort of get-up-and-bop pieces of music. Interestingly, they didn't have a violin on that backing track, so I don't know what people made of it, but I was just having a good time.
Pan's People, were you a fan?
Was I a fan? Was I? Honestly, I nearly said, does the bear, you know, but no, I'm not going to say that. Of course I was a fan. Pan's People were they were gods on the television at the time. I mean, the men that used to come trooping in to watch television when they really weren't interested in the music, all they wanted to see was Pan's people, and they were just a great bunch of girls. And you look at some of the routines now, and like everything else from the past, sometimes it can look a bit dated, but those girls were always totally professional. They were just great.
I'm so glad DLT said that, because my final guest is a gorgeous babe from Pan's people. It's Dee Dee Wilde, a Pan's people person for 10 years.
That's right.
Quite saucy, I have to say.
We were very saucy.
When you look back on that, do you think, oh, I was so rude?
No, not really. It was actually all a bit of fun. And although we were a little bit saucy, there was an incredible sort of innocence about Pan's people, and I think that's what drove the men wild, the fact that we weren't really aware of our own sauciness. You know?
Oh, I thought you were dead saucy. I did. I thought you were
darling.
dead saucy. Are you proud of that work? Because it's an unusual bit of work to have done, isn't it?
We were very proud. And I still am proud, but I don't dwell on those years. They're the past years. But, you know, if people ask me about Pan's, you know, then I love to talk about it, and I can actually bore them to tears for a couple of hours, you know.
It became part of the establishment, didn't it? It became, you know, part of our TV culture in many sort of ways. Huge fan response. Masses.
Yes, we had loads and loads of fans, and of course each one of us had individual fans, but we all had a different colour. I was red and Babs was blue. And I had loads and loads of fan mail from lovely people. I had one particular one called Billy Cameron, who came from Scotland, and he worked in a cashmere company, as one does.
Oh, very posh.
Oh, very posh, dear. And what happened was, he used to send me cashmeres, and then he found out that with all the other girls and all their boyfriends, and they would get cashmeres, and their boyfriends would get cashmeres. So he kept us going for years, and I've still got a couple of my cashmeres.
And not even a man-made fibre. Pure cashmere.
Do I look like a man-made fibre girl?
Absolutely not.
I'm not a man-made fibre girl.
You know, when I think about those outfits, they were fabulous. Notwithstanding the cashmere, have you still kept any of them?
Yes, I've kept some of them, some of my costumes. One particular thing I have got here, it's not actually a costume, because I think I would have been had up if I'd worn it just on its own, but I have a wonderful heart here, which we wore for the love theme, Barry White love theme in 1974, and it was actually Valentine's Day, and we did this little number, and we wore this right on our bums here, and then sort of undulated in front of the camera.
And you're still moving your bum in the same way. It's very good,
yes,
very good.
You know,
so you keep all this stuff?
Oh, we do, yes.
What is that, Dee Dee?
A little number I rustled up. No, it was a hat we wore for one of Rod Stewart's number, Maggie May.
I don't remember Rod ever wearing it.
No, darling, I think he'd be arrested wearing that. But what we wore, we had little shorts on and jackets and these lovely long scarves, and they're actually quite sexy. And then, on the top of all this, we had that.
Oh, it's a good look for you. Good look, Dee Dee.
Lovely, dear, lovely. But I use it as a bath cap now.
Oh, you don't?
I do. But, you know, I still like it. It reminds me of Rod. So.
I think it's brilliant that you keep all this stuff.
I know.
I really think it's absolutely brilliant. And you brought with you that, well, that's the biggest fan letter I think I've ever seen. It is a fan letter, isn't it?
It is. We used to, you know, have enormous fans from the police force, the army, the navy, and the prisons. And I had a particular fan called Paul who used to write me and send me wonderful poetry. And then one day, he sent me this, which is sort of a eulogy to Pan's people. It says, "Thanks a million, people of Pan." And then it says, "Dee Dee, I admit to being prejudiced in your favour." I was his favourite. And he sent me this, and I've always kept it. And it's just a lovely memento. I'm terribly sentimental, are you?
I am, but I'm sad to say no one's ever written to me from prison, which I would quite like, actually.
I think it was an open prison, so you haven't done anything bad, really.
Oh, dear.
You know,
so there you are in makeup, having it all done.
Mm.
Now, go on, tell me. I bet the boys wore just as much makeup as the girls, did they?
More! They were much longer in makeup than we were. And I could tell you a few DJs as well.
Oh, go on. You're not going to, are you?
No,
I can tell you're not going to.
No, not if I'm going to actually be on the show with them.
Who are you most looking forward to seeing, do you think?
I think, in a way, Dave Lee Travis, because I haven't seen him for a very long time. It'd be nice to see him if he still looks like a big bear.
Reunited, yeah.
Thank you so much. Hello. Well, here's the moment you've all been waiting for. You've seen our stars, but not all together. So, let our stars reunite. Tony Blackburn. sit down. Come and sit down. Come and sit down, Dee Dee. Oh, do you know I need to savour this moment? What a sight to behold. It's fantastic.
Yeah, she is, isn't she?
Absolutely, James. I knew you'd start pretty soon. My goodness. Well, we're all here. In the 60s, Top of the Pops was the flagship show of the pop business, as well as must-see viewing. Mums would check out the fashions. Us kids, and I can say that now, would get really excited at seeing our favourite groups, and dads would always say, "Call that music." But here's another reason why dads wouldn't miss the show. Have a look.
Once upon a time, I drank a little wine, was as happy as could be, happy as could be. Now I'm just like a cat on a haunted roof. Baby, what do you think you're doing to me? Told you once before, and I won't tell you no more, so get down, get down, get down. You're a bad dog, baby, but I still want you around, around. I still want you around. Yeah.
Well, Dee Dee, fabulous. We loved all that very literal stuff. Now, how did you choose which songs you got to dance to? Because that was great.
We didn't actually choose them. The director chose the songs. And we would be given the record about a few days before, and then we put a routine to it. And on Wednesday, because the show was recorded on Wednesdays in those times, and out we went.
So every now and then you'd probably get a record, you thought, I don't want to dance to this.
There was quite a few like that. Some were absolutely horrendous. I can remember, well, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly for a start, and Tie a Yellow Ribbon Round the Old Oak Tree.
Well, we're going to cover all that a bit later, because
Right, okay.
I'm not sure you're going to want to see what we've got to show
I've got
you.
another wonderful
And we'll
one.
see. Next up is a clip which I think sums up your Top of the Pops appearance.
Really?
I think so. I think we need to see
Which
this.
one have you got?
Have a look.
You're probably wondering what's happening, and so am I. But somebody said I should go to work on an egg.
Did I hear right? Somebody said I should go to work
on an egg.
The jokes haven't got any better, have they?
No, they haven't, actually. Well, I thought that was rather a good one. It was one of my better ones, actually.
I can ask you, in all seriousness, as I've known you for so many years, there you were in a chicken outfit. You were known for all these outrageous outfits. Yeah. I can say to you what most people are here thinking, did he have no dignity?
None at all.
Did you care?
None at all. Still don't. I tell you something, do you know, I'll be honest with you, I don't even remember being in that costume.
That was the
Isn't
whiskey,
that
Tony.
amazing? Well, I don't know. I don't actually remember being in
Well,
that
can I tell you
costume.
something? We will never forget.
No, it's
We will never forget.
That is quite a costume, that one, isn't it? You'd think, being in that, I mean, for goodness sake, you'd think you'd remember that one.
What's great was you just embraced the whole concept.
Well, it was great fun. I mean, we were just having fun with it, though it wasn't exactly brain surgery. We were just having fun. I mean, one of the reasons that we were working with Pan's people, of course, who were great to be with, and nice to look at as well.
Oh, they are. And still.
Yes, and still. Absolutely amazing, yes. I mean, you know, wonderful.
We're going to talk outfits now, as my eyes cast left to Mr. James Savile. Jim, you've always known you for your flamboyant outfits.
Never. Never.
Now, you're looking today very... Is the word subdued?
No, I'm looking at her today.
But, Jim, would you mind just having a look at this and tell me... No, not that, this. What was going on here? What happened here? Jimmy, I don't remember that, but well, like I said to Tony with the chicken, I'll never forget it again now. What was going on there? Because you looked like you were on another planet at that point.
A fella gave me, that had a shop, gave me 50 quid to wear the jersey.
If the jersey was under... It was not you at all.
Khaki jersey.
Can I talk to you about the dancing?
£500.
The dancing, Jimmy.
With the dancing.
Did you learn those moves from Pan's people?
Excuse me, I have a very serpentine movement. This is why I don't dance too much on television. My movement is serpentine, and it excites ladies no end and gets me into a lot of bother.
We learnt a lot off him.
Well, I can see the ladies in the audience getting quietly excited over there. So you'll be quite on...
I'll be there in a minute.
I actually got quite excited by it, actually.
You did?
Yeah, very excited. Terrific movie.
Yeah, goodbye.
Move somewhere else.
Yeah, goodbye. There's no place for us, Dave.
Well, I think we need another classic moment. Have a look at this classic Top of the Pops moment. We've got Dexy's Midnight Runners singing Jackie Wilson Said. DLT, look closely.
Oh.
Something's wrong here. Can you spot the problem? Now, you see, first time I watched that again yesterday, I thought, there's nothing wrong with that. What am I looking for? But
I'll tell you what you're looking for. You are looking at there one of the greatest single mistakes that was ever made on Top of the Pops, and which I still wake up screaming, laughing about nowadays. Because if you told somebody it happened, they wouldn't believe it. But now you're showing them the proof. Jackie Wilson Said was the song by Dexy's Midnight Runners. Somebody in the production studio said to one of the guys, we need a photograph of Jackie Wilson to go up at the back.
Jackie Wilson, the singer?
Jackie Wilson, the singer, of course, the great singer. And they actually put up, and it went out on air, which is the unbelievable. They put up a picture of Jockey Wilson, the darts player. And it is just, you can't top that. Well, you can't top it.
I think we all need to see that again,
have a
don't
look.
you?
Jockey Wilson.
If you didn't spot it, let's have another look. Here it is.
That's incredible, isn't it? It actually happened.
You know, did Kevin Rowland, the lead singer, say anything after? Or was he, because it was going on behind him, did he realise?
It was going on behind him, and I don't actually think to this day that he realises it, but let's face it, he would have stormed off, wouldn't he?
Oh, he'd have had a flurry of talcum powder, wouldn't he? Wouldn't have liked that at all. Absolutely. As I look around here, of course, there is one famous, very famous presenter on the show that is no longer with us, and he happened to be one of the funniest men on the box. It is Kenny Everett. So let's remind ourselves of Kenny's comic genius. Have a look.
Stars fading, but I linger on, still craving your kiss. I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear, just saying this. Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you. Sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me.
It is so good to see all those again. Tony, what are your memories of Kenny?
Well, funnily enough, Kenny and I, we were out on the pirate ship Radio London in the North Sea together in about 1965, it would have been, or 67. And we read in New Musical Express that we didn't like one another. And for about 26 years, we thought we hated one another. And then one day we were at a party, and we'd all had a little bit to drink. And he said to me, he said, and I spilt some wine, or he actually spilt some wine on himself. And he accused me of doing it. And he loved my wife, Debbie. And Debbie said, no, actually, it wasn't Tony, you spilled it. So I said, oh, all right, then. And he said, you've never liked me, have you? I said, of course I have. And he said, I like you. And he gave me a great big kiss. Oh. And we were friends right from the moment that that happened for the last 2 years of his life. And we got to know one another very well. And he was a lovely guy. And I just regret the fact that it was a stupid mistake that happened.
How extraordinary.
It is extraordinary,
for 25 years odd, you worked in the same industry, and because of one article...
Yeah, we didn't actually, I mean, we never actually hated one another, but we were never friendly. But
you probably thought that each other didn't like each other, then, is what you're saying.
Yes, because there was quite a lot of rivalry in the early days, and he just didn't think that I liked him, and I did, and we both did. And we got together in the last 2 years of his life, you know, and I got to know him, and he's a very talented man, and a very nice man as well. He loved cleaning the house. He loved dusting. and things like that. And he'd come into the studios in the morning, and you'd have the cleanest studio. Do you remember this?
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
Oh, yes.
And we'd come into the studio, and he'd say, oh, we can't do that. And he'd have this duster, and he'd dust all around the studio, and it was perfect, wasn't it?
Actually, that is funny, something very
funny.
idiosyncratic, idiosyncratic, very
It's easy for you to say.
That is something which is very unique to radio broadcasters. Then when you take over from the disc jockey on before you, you hope that it's still going to be tidy and clean, because you've got to sit there for another 3 or 4 hours. Dee Dee.
Yes.
Your memories of Kenny, what was he like?
Oh, he was lovely. He was very funny, and as Tony said, incredibly talented. And I don't remember doing an awful many shows with him, but we did sort of cabarets and that sort of thing. And he always had a quip and something to say. And he nicked 2 of my dancers once. I had a troupe of dancers, and he nicked 2 of them. One was Sarah Brightman for his television show.
Of course.
But I forgave him because he was a lovely person.
All right. And Jimmy, you're both you're both outrageous characters. I mean, Kenny was outrageous in a different way to you. Do you have fond memories?
Kenny had more personality in his little finger than we had in all of our bodies. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Wonderful. That's a wonderful thing to say. You couldn't say anything better about someone.
That's it.
And DLT, of course, you worked with him on the radio as well as on Top of the Pops. You knew him so well.
It was great. I think the last time I spoke to him, I remember him saying to me, you know, Tony Blackburn hates me. He said... No. I think the thing I remember mostly about Kenny was exactly what happened just in here, that spontaneous humour, the laughter, which we can do every now and then, but he seemed to have a really generous gift to be able to make people laugh. And speaking from a person who now uses computers to create bits for my own program, he was doing that in the days of the great old reel-to-reel tape recorders. Editing had bits of tape hanging off his ears and everything. He was, I think the word genius suits him very well. He was great.
Comic timing, didn't he?
And comic timing, of course.
And he was a wonderful mimic, and I think that was another reason why he was, you know,
Do you know,
so
we went out to dinner with him. My wife Debbie and I, we went out to dinner with him 3 weeks before he died, and he was in terrific health, and he was very happy. And my memory of him is that one night out that we had, which was a tremendous night, and 3 weeks later he was no longer with us, which is very sad.
It's great that you've got that memory, isn't it?
Lovely
Isn't it
memory,
great?
yes.
Now then, I'm afraid it's dig the dirt time. Oh, do I enjoy this? Do I? Yes, I do. I've been rummaging around your knicker drawers, each and every one of you. Well, I'm sorry, but we all need a hobby. And in so doing, I found out all your secrets. So it's confession time. I want each and every one of you to own up when you know... Get back here, Savile. You're going to own up as much as everybody else. When you hear what I'm talking about, I want you to say, I think that might be me. And the truth and nothing... You have to really own up. Okay. Are you ready? First question. Talking of knickers, as I just did, going through your knicker drawer, talking of knickers, who went commando when appearing on the show? And by that, I mean no underwear.
Me. It was a mistake. Somebody had sent me a mini kilt and asked me if I'd wear it on Top of the Pops, which I did. Took it to the studio, and when I got there, I found I hadn't packed any Y-fronts. So I couldn't possibly, built as I am, go on without the Y-fronts. So I said to one of my guys, go back to my place and you'll find a packet of underpants. And he came back, I opened them up, and it was a vest. So I had to actually stand on the rostrum, but instead of standing on the edge of the rostrum, where the audience is, I had to stand at the back. Say, what's he doing back there?
We can see a picture of this, actually. Have we got a picture? Let's have it. Oh, there you are.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what they call a sporran. At least I hope that's what it is.
And you'll not see a soul round. And I stood right at the back.
That must be the only time on Top of the Pops the presenter is standing
right at the back,
on their own, nobody around.
Yeah.
Thank you for owning up to that one.
It was an error.
It was an error. Okay.
It was also very cool.
Now here's another one for you. Own up. Whose hit record plummeted right down the charts the moment after appearing on Top of the Pops? I wonder, DLT, would that be you?
Yes. It was a record. It started life as me writing a Mickey take of the then record, the hit record from America called Convoy, which was all about CB radio. I thought nobody in this country could understand a word of what he was saying because we didn't have CB radio at that time. So I thought I'll write the English version. I wrote it. Somebody said, that's very good, you ought to make a record. When I realised we were going to make a record, I then got my cohort, the one and only Paul Burnett, who is just a genius at this sort of thing. And I said, Paul, come on, rewrite this with me, we're going to make a record. State Records put it out in such a fast time, and it went up to #4 in the British charts and #1 in Luxembourg.
Fantastic.
And we appeared on Top of the Pops. There we were, Super Scouse and Plastic Chicken. And it was a moment to savour for the whole nation. And Tony here, bless his cotton socks, he introduced it and everything. And the day after we were on Top of the Pops, people were throwing the stuff back at the record shops. It just went straight down the charts.
It was my bad introduction that did it. It wasn't your
You
record.
did fluff on one word, I remember. You fluffed on one word. That's it. That's what did it.
That's what did it. Was it really a terrible performance, DLT? Was it a terrible performance?
I think it was a bit of a letdown to see me as supposedly a superhero with the big white mask on over here. I mean, you wouldn't spot me with the beard, would you, underneath it? The big beard coming out of Cosy. And Paul Burnett, poor thing, he was talking away in this chicken outfit and he nodded his head and the beak was going like that. It was just hysterical. Nobody could believe it.
I thought it was good.
Yes.
I thought it was a good
Would
performance.
it really pain you to see it again?
Oh.
I mean, I have to say, it is a deeply unpleasant piece of English television. However...
You can say that after Big Brother?
But you know what? I think I just have to play it.
It's time now to go up the M1 motorway to the Scratchway service area, and we are going to find Lorry Lingo, the plastic chickens, the dipsticks, everything, and Convoy GB.
It was a foggy day on the 6th of May in a Scammell Hall in Bricks. It was just cracking dawn and I started to yawn because I couldn't find any nice chicks. I tried Newport, Pagnell, Toddington, and even Watford Gap. But after so many eggs, chips, sausage and beans, what I really needed was a nap. It's a lonely life truck driving, but it's better than a bike. Because when you're up in the camp, you're the king of the road, and it's dead romantic like. And then I remembered me two-way radio, so I started feeling better. And I thought I'll start a convoy, you know, just like that American fella.
Now...
I've changed my mind.
You changed your mind.
Dreadful.
DLT, had you known I was going to play that clip today, would you have still come today? No.
I would have come to this show because, by definition, this is a show which, you're going to love me saying this, it's so nice to have reunions like this.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have missed this for the world. So you could, if you'd have played the whole record, I would have come here for that reason, and of course for the reason that we get 17p every time it's played.
If you'd played the whole record, I wouldn't have come.
What's interesting about that is before I played the clip, DLT said to Tony, of course, you got the introduction wrong. You remember?
And
you got
and
when we played it again, he did it with Scratch
Wood services. He said Scratch Way. So it was his fault.
That's right.
Do you still remember it?
Do I remember
Are you
what?
going to give us a little rendition of this wonderful thing here, little twirl?
Get off.
I've got a better question. One of you sitting around the table today, one of you had a huge stand-up row, I mean handbags at dawn, with Noel Edmonds. Who was it?
Oh, it might have been me.
Yeah, I think it was. Tell me,
I should have row with everybody, don't I?
You do.
I don't know why. Well, I don't know. Noel took over my breakfast show. Do you remember that? And, you know, it was in the days when I didn't really want him to, and I just got a bit of huff. It was a bit sort of cold. And then I went on the house party a little while later, and you know we used to go out there and deliver a line, and Noel would slam the door. And he slammed the door, and he caught my hand like that, and I heard him say to the camera, I've been wanting to do that for years.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and when we came back in the green room afterwards, I said to him, you really meant that, didn't you? And he said, I really did. And once again, from that moment on, we've been the greatest of friends. There it is. So if only in those early days he'd slammed the studio door on me, it would have been all right. You know, but that was all really. It was just one of those things.
A bit of a giveaway, this one. At least I hope it's a giveaway, because there is only one person who should own up to this one. I hope only one of you is. Which one of our team stepped out, and I mean stepped out, with Rod Stewart?
Me.
It would have to be you.
Yes, I always fancied Rod. I thought he was absolutely gorgeous, and he was at Top of the Pops one day, and I sort of sidled up near him, and he asked me out, which was absolutely lovely. I was absolutely thrilled. And I took a week agonising over my costume, and the day arrived, and I was so excited. And then in the afternoon, I started feeling ill. And by about 5 o'clock, I was really ill. And about 7 o'clock, I was taken off to hospital with suspected meningitis. So anyway, a message got sent to him, and obviously I didn't go out on my date, which was so sad. And then the next day I was lying in the hospital, and suddenly this nurse rushed up. She said, "Oh, my God, my God." And I thought, what's the matter? She said, "Rod Stewart's coming, Rod Stewart's coming." And all these nurses were running around, and I thought, oh my God, no, because I was looking such a mess, no makeup, and us girls, we do like our makeup. And then suddenly into the ward walked Rod with an enormous bunch of grapes for me. And I felt terrible, because it was great to see him, but I couldn't do anything. I was just lying there looking so awful, I didn't even have my dolly frock on. And he was really sweet, and he sat down and he took my hand and sort of did that. And
bless him.
He was absolutely gorgeous. At the time, man. Sorry, Jimmy, how could one forget you? Thank you, darling. Well,
is that what he did?
You can put it down now.
Can I tell you one thing, something I've never told anybody before? Well, on one top of the pots, I went out with one of the Seekers once.
I hope it was...
No, I'm not saying which one. But we went out to dinner. I think it was other than you, the old or the new.
Well, there was only one girl in the old Seekers.
Yeah, there were two. No, two. Well, there were two. No, I'm not saying who it was.
Oh, don't say then.
But we went out to dinner, and she didn't have very good eyesight. And we've met since.
Obviously.
And what I was going to say is... Thank you, Dave. And what I was going to say is, to this very day we've met, and I still don't think she realised she went out with me. No, she hadn't got her glasses with me. I'm still, to this day, don't think.
Now then, we have to move on. Top of the Pops has been in the headlines since it first hit our screens in 1964. And I've been checking out the tabloids and come up with a few headlines that will test your knowledge of why you were all in the news. So, have a look at this first one. Pan's people put Mary in a spin. Now, what's that all about?
We were doing a show with Jimmy Savile. It was a Clunk Click at the time, and it was a chat show. It was an early evening show, and we wore these incredible long dresses, which were slit to here and slit to there, and completely black backless. Yes, Dave.
Jimmy remembers it, I can
yes,
see.
he does. Actually, they were beautiful dresses, but Mary Whitehouse said they were absolutely disgusting, and that we shouldn't have been wearing them on a show that was going out as an early evening show.
I thought so too.
Yes, Jimmy.
Here's your next one. Oh, I like this one. Now, BBC bans PJ Proby on TV.
Oh, that was a performance that PJ Proby did on stage, and he split his trousers, didn't he?
Yes, he particularly bought those trousers for that reason. He went to a very, very low-grade store, and he bought them a couple of inches too small. I happen to know this for a fact. And he knew darn well it were going to split. But it unfortunately did affect his Top of the Pops appearance as well. Because of the live show, they didn't let him on Top of the Pops. They thought
his whole career, actually. His whole career.
Did that have a resounding effect?
It did have an effect.
His whole career just disappeared overnight, which is amazing to think
Which
about.
is crazy, because nowadays,
crazy.
of course, that would be a positive plus, wouldn't it?
Well, it would really, yes.
So what you're saying is he did it as a stunt, and it backfired, really.
Yeah, he never really got back. He never had a hit record, I think I'm right in saying, after that. And he never got back on TV.
Yeah.
Amazing, really, just through splitting his trousers.
Do you know, I've got to be very irreverent now, because I've got a picture here which, when I look at it, it's a wonder either of you, Jimmy or Tony, did also get back on TV. I don't know if I can show you this picture. Jimmy, what are you doing?
How's it happened? He wanted us to do a front cover for Radio Times for Top of the Pops, and I said to himself, stick your tongue out when the camera goes. Of course, it's a very proper gentleman. So, as you can see, I actually stood slightly behind him, and he's smiling nice and angelic, and I give him a tongue like that. And they actually made it into... Did we get into trouble for that? Really? He got into trouble. It wasn't even his fault.
Oh, you both got into trouble?
Well, I didn't realise you got your tongue out until I saw the Radio Times.
I know. Oh, the tabloids shouted, oh, disgusting, and this and that and the other, which, of course, it was.
Because the BBC in those days were quite strict, weren't they, about what you could do and what you couldn't do?
If they were quite strict, why did they put it on the front cover of the Radio Times then?
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. I think it's a quite... I'm trying to look at the date on that.
Wasn't what he was doing...
1970.
It wasn't what he was doing with his tongue, it was what he was doing with his right hand. That's why I'm smiling.
Stop! Enough! Now, listen, we're celebrating Top of the Pops, and as I look around, there is one person who really should be sitting here on these sofas. Well, he was one of the very first, and in my mind is still one of the best. Let's have a look at this top TV talent.
you know, Pop Pickers, while the groups were having it all their own way in 1967, the ballad singers, they came into their own. There was a guy who was around singing all kinds of song. He found the right sort of ballad, and he came to the #1 spot this month. We're talking about Mr. Long John Baldry.
Whoa, whoa. Yes, it's Mr. Pick of the Pops himself. Please welcome Mr. Alan Freeman. Alan, how are you, my friend? Lovely to see you. Lovely to see you.
Now, this has made it a rather special programme.
Yes, now, this is unbelievable. Fluff, you've worked with DLT. I mean, DLT, you're sitting right next to one of your idols. I mean, you worked with Fluff a lot, didn't you? Eh?
I have worked with Fluff a lot. Bless his cotton socks. There's two things I would say. Go on, now let me speak about you first.
No, I don't want you to. All right.
Why? Why not?
Go on.
All right. No, one thing is memories from right when I started in the business. Fluff was doing a Top of the Pops in Manchester. I asked if I could possibly see him because I wanted to do DJing on television and stuff. Fluff invited me into his dressing room and gave me 3/4 of an hour of his valuable time talking about what it was like in the business and helping me know, in which I've never forgotten. And because of what he did, I, in turn, now, when people write to me saying I'd love to become a disc jockey, I always make sure I write back to them because it's the worst thing in the world not to do that. And the other thing is, the professionalism of this man, you will remember a certain incident, Fluff, won't you, when I was actually standing behind him in the studio and he was reading. He had his charts. He had the charts, as only Fluff can do the chart show, and at this point he's holding his piece of paper with the top 20 on there. And I waited. I was professional enough to wait till he got to about number 7, and I walked up behind him. I was feeling in a pretty silly mood, and I set fire to the bottom of the script, knowing that A, I could be dead within 5 minutes, and B, he's pro enough to deal with it. And he held this thing up, and there were flames licking up, and he was reading it, and as the flames went, it became blacker and blacker, and he ended up with this smoking ruin in his fingers. And he just did not bat an eyelid, and he read out the chart as perfectly as ever. And, I mean, how could you be more pro than that?
Faultless performance.
Absolutely. Wonderful.
See, the thing is that Tony has the most fabulous story about Fluff because...
About me?
About you, absolutely, because, Alan, you were Tony's knight in shining armour. Tell us what happened, Tony.
Well, this is the loveliest man in the world, first of all. And it's been a privilege to know him for so many years. And we were doing a Top of the Pops together. I don't know if you remember this, Fluff.
I do.
And it was the time of the Asian flu. It was the Asian flu, and everybody was catching it. And we were about to do a Top of the Pops and a recording, and the floor manager was counting down to 10, and Fluff and I were there. And I suddenly went faint, and I collapsed into Fluff's arms here.
And he caught you?
And he caught me. And when I came round, Fluff said to me, it was a pleasure, mate. The most wonderful thing that's happened to me in my entire life.
I remember that. Alan, do you still watch Top of the Pops?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Because you see, the changing of the music, the changing of a new generation coming around to hear something new again to them is I think, quite exciting. And I think the disc jockeys today are different, and thank God they are, because if they weren't, we'd all be bored to death.
Absolutely right, quite right too. And we all agree with that,
Jim?
don't we?
100%. Here. You still remember you borrowed that £5 off me? You remember that? You did, you borrowed the £5 off me.
And you not had it back?
47 years ago.
With interest?
No, it's about 300 quid.
Okay. Now listen, our audience have been captivated by seeing you all sitting on our sofas today. And do you know what, guys? We've got some questions for you. So who would like to go first? Who's going to go first?
One for Jimmy. Yes. Jimmy, you're well known for your catchphrases, but tell me, where did they come from?
They came from the British public. I never said them at all in my life. And they said to me, now then, now then, now... So I borrowed it from them, and that's my catchphrase. And somebody else says, Jim, as it happens, I thought, that'll do for me, thank you very much indeed, because I've borrowed off people all my life, actually.
So you adopted them afterwards?
Oh, nicked them.
Fabulous, fabulous.
How about the You haven't done that today.
He's nicked that off Tarzan. We know that.
Listen.
After all these years, it's out.
Of course. But if I've got the body, I might as well have the sound.
And there was always jewellery, wasn't there?
Yeah. As it happens, I was very pleased to see that Ali G modelled himself on me.
Yes, he did actually, didn't he?
Yes, all the bling bling.
All the bling bling.
But this is the real gear. This is not kosher.
Another question from someone in the audience?
It's a question for Dee Dee. Dee Dee, did you ever have to dance to records that you all absolutely hated?
Oh, God, yes, quite often. I mean, there were some absolutely horrendous ones. For instance, one of the ones I really loathed was Monster Mash. And because we were all dressed up in most horrendously horrible costumes.
I think that these are one of those momentous moments where I have to just torture you just for a little while.
Not.
What would be your worst nightmare?
Oh, I don't know. I think Monster Mash.
Funny you should say that. Have a look.
The scene was rocky, all were digging the sounds. Igor unchained, backed by his baying hounds. The coffin bangers were about to arrive with their vocal group, the Crypt Kicker Five. They played the mash. They played the Monster Mash.
The Monster Mash.
It was a graveyard smash.
They played the mash.
It caught on in a flash.
They played the mash.
They played the Monster.
I like that. What was wrong with that? It was great.
We looked dreadful in those awful costumes. Jimmy was the DJ on it, wasn't he?
I wasn't, and I fancied you even dressed like that.
And you still do, Jimmy, be honest.
Yes.
OK. See, the marvellous thing about Top of the Pops is, without exception, it promoted every one of you to be household names. And again, without exception, you've all had glittering careers and still do. Now, Tony, do you still love the business in the way that you did in 1964?
Oh, absolutely. You know, it's just been fun. I've been so lucky, and Top of the Pops, for all of us, you know, it was a wonderful programme to do. And I don't regret every single moment of it. And as we all think, it's a fun business to be in. And we've had a wonderful time with it, haven't we? Yes, terrific.
And what I say about still working, DLT, same for you. I mean, you've never stopped in all these years, and you're still like a 15-year-old.
Yeah. I'm 15.
No, you sound... No, you talk with enthusiasm like you did when you were 15. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. I think what it is a basic love of people, to be truthful. You just love interacting with people. There are certain people on the planet that, you know, they come up to you, they want to throw their arms around you for no apparent reason. I like those kind of people. And, of course, the music, we grow up with all this different music, and as I said before on the programme, you have the choice of the older music you can play, you can pick the cream out of that lot, and there are lots of great new acts coming through, you mustn't forget that. There's a lot of dross around at the moment, as there was earlier on in the 60s and 70s. But, you know, we can find the good stuff and still enjoy playing it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Alan, the same for you. You're still a pop fan, aren't you? Still a mad pop fan, aren't you?
A pop fan?
Yeah.
Oh, you betcha.
You listen to the radio all the time, and you still watch
Yes,
Top
I
of the
listen to
Pops?
the radio all the time, and I divide it between Radio 2, Classic FM, classical music I love, but all kinds of music is there to be enjoyed.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to prove anything. All you have to do is to enjoy the music that you're listening to. And because you like Elvis Presley, doesn't mean to say you don't like Shostakovich.
Yeah. True. Absolutely right, absolutely right. DLT, one thing I need to ask you about is Pace and Dial UK, which is something you're very heavily involved in. Tell me about this. Is interesting, this. What is this?
Yeah, it's to do with photography, because I've actually been doing photography as long as I've been broadcasting, and I recently started a project using celebrities in unusual situations, which actually suggested record titles. And the two organisations, Dial UK is a disablement information advice line place. The other one is Pace, which is a wonderful little school in Aylesbury in Buckinghamshire for children with cerebral palsy. And I wanted to make money for them. Fortunately, I managed to sell a few of these pictures to one of the Sunday mags. We got £5,000 to start the ball rolling. And I've taken these pictures which suggest record titles, of which I think you've got a couple hidden away somewhere.
We have got a couple, and we've got one of Nell McAndrew.
Oh, your
my wife.
Yes.
Oh, there she is.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people...
my alleged wife, I should say. Now, what's she doing there, Dave?
Well, basically, that song title is the most obvious of the ones I've done so far. It's Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny Yellow Polka Dot Bikini, with the spots flying off it. However, I am not going to tell you what the record title is of the second photograph.
OK, well, let's have a look. What's the second one? Oh, my goodness.
It's Graham Norton, and all I'm willing to say here is it's a record title, it's a very old record, it's from the rock and roll period, and it's from Jerry Lee Lewis, and I really wouldn't mention it if I were
Dee Dee, what about you?
Well, I do a lot of gardening, so I live in the country, so I've been let loose on the country. So as well as Kim Wilde, there's two Wildes doing gardening. And when I'm not doing that, I'm part of a small production team that we do videos with my partner, Henry Marsh, who used to be in Sailor. Does anybody remember Sailor?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Girls.
And One Drink Too Many, I think.
Yeah, One Glass of Champagne.
Glass of champagne, yeah.
Sir James.
Well, I've got away with it for years, as it happens. But my case comes up on Thursday. So it could be all over by then. What can you
You're
do?
still the youngest one on the sofa today, you know, I'm telling you.
Not
Only you
really.
could get away with that outfit and that bling-bling. It's fantastic. I love you for it. Well, do you know, that's all we've got time for today, but actually it's been truly fabulous having all my DJ heroes with me today, and dancers. I hope you've all enjoyed it as much as me. I've actually really had the best time today meeting you all again. So please join me next time for another Stars Reunited. Until then, thank you, I love you, thank you. Take care. See you soon. Bye.
And Dale has another great get-together planned. The nationwide team of the Stars Reunited tomorrow morning. Don't miss that at the same time, 10 here on BBC One.
We all are so excited 'cause we're reunited, yeah. We all are so excited 'cause we're